All right, how are we doing today? Good, good. All right, we're going to move on. You'll notice that you have a substitute in class. I am not available to be in class at second hour today. So here's the information you need to have before you move on with solving a right triangle. So here's the notes we're going to take. Please follow along. Okay, to solve a triangle means to find all the side lengths and all the angle measures based on whatever you're given. Here's your hints. Triangles have 180 degrees of angle measures. So if it's a right triangle, the two acute angles add up to 90 degrees. So we can find angle measures that way. If I know one of the acute, I can subtract it from 90 to get the other acute angles. And we can use Pythagorean theorem or trig to find unknown sides. Sometimes you might use both. Right? So we're going to try and solve these triangles using the information we have. So in this triangle, FHG, we have two of the side lengths. We have the hypotenuse and one leg. We need to find the other leg. We can use Pythagorean theorem to do that. And so all we have to do is recognize this is the hypotenuse. So this is C. This is A or B. This is A or B, whichever one we don't use. I'm going to call this one B and this one A. So I'm going to say A squared plus 5 squared equals 13 squared, which simplifies to this. And then we simply subtract 25 from both sides. And we get that A squared equals 144. And the next step then is to take the square root of both sides. So we take the square root and we realize that A equals 12. So if I want to write it in, I can, but here's where you're recording your answer. HF, or FH, is equal to 12. Now, we're going to find angle measures using these sides. Now I want to stick with using the given information as often as I can. All right, I don't want to use the information I found as an answer. If I ever had to round it, I might throw off my other answers by using that rounded value. So I always want to go back to the original information. So I'm going to use these two numbers to find one of the other angle measures. And the trick here is just to pick one. It doesn't matter which one you start with, just pick one of them. So I'm going to pick angle F as my reference angle. I'm going to find the measure of angle F first by using the inverse of the sine function. And here's why I know I have to use sine. Remember from SOHCAHTOA, here, let me slide that down where you can see it. SOHCAHTOA, if this is my reference angle, this leg that is 5 units long is the opposite leg from that reference angle F. So I'm either going to use SO or TOA. And this 13 unit length is the hypotenuse. So I'm using opposite and hypotenuse. That means I have to use sine. So I can go ahead and set this up that the sine of angle F is equal to that ratio 5 over 13. That means the inverse sine of 5 over 13 equals the measure of angle F. So when we put that in our calculator, we get that the inverse sine of 5 over 13 is approximately 23 degrees because we are told to round to the nearest degree. Alright, since we know that the measure of angle F is 23 degrees now, I can just subtract that from 90 to find the other acute angle measure. And 90 minus 23 for the measure of angle G is 67 degrees. And so usually there will be 3 pieces of information that is given to you, and you'll need to solve the triangle to find the other 3 pieces of information. Okay? One of the 3 that's always given to you is that it's a right angle. Okay, we have to know that first. So really there's only 2 other pieces of information that are going to be useful to us. So let's try 5b. We want to find the measure of angle C. Okay, and we can do that by just subtracting 62 from 90. And then we get the measure of angle C is 28 degrees. Now, yours is probably in a different position. That might be at the very bottom of your list. So be careful that you're not just filling in the first blank you see. Okay, I think I've changed the order of this on my notes, but your notes should have measure of angle C at the bottom. But that's 28 degrees by doing 90 minus 62. And now we can worry about the trigonometry to help find these 2 side lengths. Okay, we have to find AB and BC. Now, to find BC, if I'm using this 62 degree angle as my reference angle, to find BC, that's the opposite leg, and then the given side 10 is the hypotenuse. So if I'm using opposite and hypotenuse, I should set up a sine equation. So I can say the sine of 62 degrees equals that opposite leg. If I call it x, then it's x over 10 for opposite over hypotenuse. So to solve this, we multiply, cross multiply when you set it up as a proportion, but you get that x equals 10 times sine of 62. Okay, 10 times the sine of 62 when you enter it into your calculator is about 8.8 rounded to the nearest tenth, because we are supposed to round our segments to the nearest tenth. Now, to find AB, this other side, I could use Pythagorean theorem. Since I know this is 8.8 and I know this is 10, I could use a squared plus b squared equals c squared. But again, that requires using a rounded answer. I could get a more accurate answer if I go back to using trigonometry to find AB. Finding AB, I'm going to call that side y, since I already use x. I'm going to realize that this is the adjacent leg to the 62 degree angle, so I'm going to use my cosine ratio. I'm going to say cosine of 62 equals the adjacent leg, which I'm calling y, over the hypotenuse 10. So very similarly to how we got this, y equals 10 times the cosine of 62. Okay, and when we work that out, 10 times the cosine of 62 is about 4.7. Okay, so this value is about 4.7. All right, I'm going to give you guys a little bit of time here to work out this 5C example on your own. Try and work through this one the same way we just worked the previous one. And you'll get some time, so we're going to pause the video. Hopefully the sub will do that now. All right, if you still need more time, ask the video to be paused. But these are the things we should be looking for. We should be finding measure of angle P, QR, and PR to finish solving this triangle. And these are the answers we should get. All right, to find the measure of angle P, all we had to do was take 90 minus 33, and we get 57 degrees. But then I want to go back to using this 33 degree angle in my trig ratios to find QR and PR. I'm going to call QRX and PRY, and I'll find X first. So I set up this ratio first, and I know it has to be tangent because 16 is the opposite leg length from the 33 degree angle, and I'm looking for X, which is the adjacent leg. So I have to use tangent because of TOA from SOHCAHTOA. So if I say tangent of 33 equals 16 over x, set that up as a proportion and cross multiply, x times tangent of 33 equals 16. So QR, or x, is equal to 16 divided by tangent of 33 when we divide both sides by that value, which is approximately 24.6. And then for finding PR, or the value of y, we're going to use the opposite length of 16 from the 33 degree angle, but we're looking for the hypotenuse now. Since I'm using opposite to find hypotenuse, I'm going to use sine. So sine of 33 equals 16 over y, so I use my proportion again, and y would be 16 divided by sine of 33, which is about 29.4. All right, you've got some time now, and I want you guys to try and do these application problems, and you won't have to completely solve the triangle unless it tells you to, but you're going to use these concepts to help find the measurements that they're asking you for. Okay, so they kind of give you directions on how to do this. Step 1 is to draw the right triangle in the diagram if it's not already done, and step 2 is to analyze the figure to determine what you still need. Are you looking for angle measures, or are you looking for a side? And that will help you get started on solving these. So you've got some time now. Try and work on these application problems before you start the next worksheet from lesson 8.4.